So now let's look at how we can use Maslow's hierarchy of needs to help us create a good learning environment for our pupil. The hierarchy, a very simple idea, and it's just, you can treat it like a ladder. We're starting at the base and working our way to the top, and we need to satisfy the lower needs before we can satisfy the higher needs above them. So first we start at the base, and we'll look at physiological needs. Physiological needs from an instructor's point of view, you need to facilitate and you need to be planning ahead. From the pupil's viewpoint, he doesn't want to feel hungry, he should be dry, warm, and if he needs a rest break, you have conspired to allow him time to go and do that without any embarrassment. When we move on to safety and security needs, then you are a coach. You should appear calm and give an impression of safety. And that's all about how you present yourself to your pupil. So you need to look like you know what you're doing, and you should look safe and well behaved. From the pupil's point of view, pupil needs to feel physically safe. So he needs to feel that when he goes home at the end of the day, he's not going to be injured in any way like that. And also he needs to be psychologically safe. So he needs to be safe from criticism. And so you don't want to be giving the impression that you're going to be nitpicking at him every 5 minutes. From a companionship point of view, then you are in the position to encourage interaction between your pupil and his peers, and make sure you do that. You should be friendly and give that impression and encourage it in others, and you should care about your pupil's progress. From the pupil's point of view, he needs to feel as if he's part of a group and join in, and you'll know that you're being successful here if he is actually joining in. Moving on to esteem now, then the instructor should never belittle his pupil. She should never do that, and praise when praise is due. Make sure you do that. The pupil needs to feel valued and he needs to feel respected. And very often your pupil has moved out of an environment where he's comfortable and possibly even the boss to one where he's now a learner. And so he has to start all over again, and you need to cut him some slack in that respect. Finally, we get to self-actualization, and at the self-actualization level, the instructor now needs to be encouraging questions and making the whole process fun, right? And the pupil doesn't need to feel embarrassed about doing that, and he needs to feel free to ask questions and to explore ideas, however apparently strange they are. Once we've achieved all of these things, we now have an effective learning environment. Now watch the next film.
The theory that we're going to look at is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is a psychological model that dictates our motivation in education and life as a whole. Okay, this is what the hierarchy looks like. The most primitive requirement for all of us is a physiological need. In order for us to progress, we need to be fed and watered, have suitable shelter, warmth, and not require the toilet. If we need any of these things, we cannot progress upwards, and we will put in action to address these issues. Once we have all those needs met, our next step is to feel safe. This doesn't just have to be physically safe, but it also can include feeling emotionally safe. Is there a risk of being verbally abused? Are you in any immediate danger? If there is a risk, your immediate priority is to reduce this. Once we are safe, we want to become emotionally satisfied. That is the need for friends, companionship and conversation. You imagine, as soon as you've entered a room full of people you have never met before, you instinctively start to weigh people up. Are they easygoing? Will they be hard to talk to? Is there any potential chance of conflict? We assess the risk and start to communicate and attempt to build friendships. Once we have asserted ourselves in the group or identified our place within the group, We then strive for the next need. This is the esteem need. We want to feel confident, want to reach a sense of achievement. We want to receive respect from others, and we also want to be respectful towards others. And the final tier is self-actualization. This is the need to understand, the need for realizing our own personal potential, the need to seek personal growth, the ability to assess prejudice. In education, we are all aspiring for our learners to reach this stage, but according to Maslow, he predicts that only 40% of the general population ever reach this stage. We will come across learners at every point on this scale, but it is our job to create an environment that is inclusive to help everybody progress. Well, what is it that we can do? Okay, physiological. How can we ensure that this need is met? Some of this is obvious, but if you are providing some sort of training, you need to offer toilet breaks, breaks for lunch, coffee breaks, that sort of thing, and make sure that the classroom is a suitable temperature. Safety. How can we ensure our lessons make learners feel safe? Well, we need to ensure that our work environment is suitable. There are no obvious physical hazards apparent. We need to establish the ground rules. At the very start of your training session, you need to make the whole group aware that you will challenge discrimination, that certain things are not tolerated. You also need to make people aware that they need to respect other people's opinions and maybe not to communicate all at the same time and interrupt individuals. You need to encourage people to take a chance, to take a risk. If they feel unsure, make them feel that they're able to ask questions. It's also good practice when you do set the ground rules that you mutually agree these rules with your learners. You could ask questions like, is there anything that you think we've missed? Are you happy with these? Are we okay to proceed on these values? Etc. Emotional. How can our lessons ensure that this need is met? First of all, you've got to start with the classroom furniture. You don't want to have exam room style single desks isolating individuals, because group work can be very productive. We want to provide opportunities for individuals to talk amongst the group and share their answers and understanding. Esteem. How can we ensure this need is met? Well, you need to make sure that all the feedback you as a teacher give is constructive. We need to make sure that the tasks are suitable to the ability in the group. You don't want a really, really hard task that nobody's going to be able to complete, because that will ruin their self-esteem. You need to offer praise when praise is due. Don't just give it willy-nilly. If praise is worthy, then it should be issued. At times, if you are doing any peer feedback activities, you will need to guide and scaffold how that feedback should be given. Not everybody know how to give constructive feedback, so you need to model that. Self-actualization. How can our lessons ensure that this need is met? Well, you need to challenge your learners. Put them out of their comfort zone. Get them to do things that they might not necessarily want to do instinctively. Provide an opportunity for the learners to ask you questions. It helps them to understand what's going on. Where possible, promote creativity and accept that everybody's work will be slightly different, and praise people accordingly. Allow learners to take risks. If there is no opportunity for a learner to step out their comfort zone and take a risk, it's not going to be as easy for them to learn. Right, let's summarise that question again. Why is it important to create an inclusive teaching and learning environment? Well, it provides an opportunity for our learners to be creative and to learn. It encourages learners to take responsibility for their own learning. It encourages individuals to offer support to their peers or receive support from their peers. It will help learners to feel emotionally accepted and not awkward in social settings. It helps learners to feel safe by the fact that you've mutually understood that antisocial behaviour is not tolerated and that everybody in the group will respect opinions. This is a main reason why it's important to create an inclusive teaching and learning environment. Thank you very much for listening to this tutorial.